Take a look at this picture. It poses a very fascinating puzzle for us. These African students are doing their homework under streetlights at the airport in the capital city because they don't have any electricity at home. Now, I haven't met these particular students, but I've met students like them. Let's just pick one. For example, the one in the green shirt. Let's give him a name too, Nelson. I'll bet Nelson has a cell phone. So here's the puzzle. Why is it that Nelson has access to a cutting-edge technology like the cell phone, but doesn't have access to a 100-year-old technology for generating electric light in the home? Now, in a word, the answer is rules. Bad rules can prevent the kind of win-win solution that's available when people can bring new technologies in and make them available to someone like Wilson. What kinds of rules? The electric company in this nation operates under a rule which says that it has to sell electricity at a very low subsidized price. In fact, a price that's so low it loses money on every unit that it sells. So it has neither the resources nor the incentive to hook up many other users. The president wanted to change this rule. He's seen that it's possible to have a different set of rules, rules where businesses earn a small profit so they have an incentive to sign up more customers. That's the kind of rules that the cell phone company that Nelson purchases his telephony from operates under. The president's seen how those rules worked well, so he tried to change the rules for pricing of electricity, but ran into a firestorm of protest from businesses, consumers who wanted to preserve the existing subsidized rates. So he was stuck with rules that prevented him from letting the win-win solution from helping his country, and Nelson is stuck studying under the streetlights. The real challenge then is to try and figure out how we can change rules. Are there some rules we can develop for changing rules? I want to argue that there's a general abstract insight that we can make practical, which is that if we can give more choices to people and more choices to leaders, who in many countries are also people, but it's useful to present the opposition between these two, because the kind of choice you might want to give to a leader, a choice like giving the president the choice to raise prices on electricity, takes away a choice that people in the economy want. They want the choice to be able to continue consuming subsidized electric power. So if you give just to one side or the other, you'll have tension or friction. But if we can find ways to give more choices to both, that will give us a set of rules for changing rules and get us out of traps. Now, Nelson also has access to the internet, and he says that if you want to see the damaging effects of rules, the ways that rules can keep people in the dark, look at the pictures from NASA of the Earth at night. In particular, check out Asia. If you zoom in here, you can see North Korea in outline here, which is like a black hole compared to its neighbors. Now, you won't be surprised to learn that the rules in North Korea keep people there in the dark. But it is important to recognize that North Korea and South Korea started out with identical sets of rules in both the sense of laws and regulations, but also in the deeper senses of understandings, norms, culture, values, beliefs. When they separated, they made choices that led to very divergent paths for their sets of rules. So we as humans can change the rules that we use to interact with each other for better or for worse. Now, let's look at another region, the Caribbean. Zoom in on Haiti in outline here. Haiti is also dark compared to its neighbor here, the Dominican Republic, which has about the same number of residents. Both of these countries are dark compared to Puerto Rico, which has half as many residents as either Haiti or the Dominican Republic. What Haiti warns us is that rules can be bad because governments are weak. It's not just that the rules are bad because the government is too strong and oppressive, as in North Korea. So that if we want to create environments with good rules, we can't just tear down. We've got to find ways to build up as well. Now, China dramatically demonstrates both the potential and the challenges of working with rules. Back in the beginning of the data presented in this chart, China was the world's high technology leader. Chinese had pioneered technologies like steel, printing, gunpowder. But the Chinese never adopted, at least in that period, effective rules for encouraging the spread of those ideas, a profit motive that could encourage the spread. And they soon adopted rules which slowed down innovation and cut China off from the rest of the world. So as other countries in the world innovated, in the sense both of developing newer technologies, but also developing newer rules, the Chinese were cut off from those advances. Income there stayed stagnant as it zoomed ahead in the rest of the world. This next chart looks at more recent data. It plots average income in China as a percentage of average income in the United States. In the 50s and 60s, you can see that it was hovering at about 3%. But then in the late 70s, something changed. Growth took off in China. The Chinese started catching up very quickly with the United States. If you go back to the map at night, you can get a clue to the process that led to the dramatic change in rules in China. The brightest spot in China, which you can see on the edge of the outline here, is Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a small bit of China that for most of the 20th century operated under a very different set of rules than the rest of mainland China. Rules that were copied from working market economies of the time and administered by the British. In the 1950s, Hong Kong was a place where millions of people could go from the mainland to start in jobs like sewing shirts, making toys, but to get on a process of increasing income, increasing skills that led to very rapid growth there. Hong Kong was also the model which leaders like Deng Xiaoping could copy when they decided to move all of the mainland towards the market model. But Deng Xiaoping instinctively understood the importance of offering choices to his people. So instead of forcing everyone in China to shift immediately to the market model, they proceeded by creating some special zones that could do, in a sense, what Britain did, make the opportunity to go work with the market rules available to the people who wanted to opt in there. So they created 4 special economic zones around Hong Kong, zones where Chinese could come and work and cities grew up very rapidly there. Also zones where foreign firms could come in and make things. One of the zones next to Hong Kong has a city called Shenzhen. In that city, there's a Taiwanese firm that made the iPhone that any of you have, and made it with labor from Chinese who moved there to Shenzhen. So after the 4 special zones, there were 14 coastal cities that were open in this same